Today I'm going to be talking to you about 5 tips to do innovation and do it right. My name is Antonio Acuna. I am the Commercial Delivery Director for Parity. We at Parity are experts in digital transformation and data. We find the right talent to achieve the right solution for the problems that our industry faces today across all spectrums and segments. The first thing we need to think of when talking about innovation is what are the user needs. The first thing we need to do is to go and find out what are the needs that we need to satisfy. We get lost in the processes and structures we have in place, from running a business, running a restaurant, whatever, and disassociate ourselves from the need, the user. What are their needs? We don't know them, they know them, we need to identify them. That's the first thing. Once you know what your needs are, then you'd go to the second point, which is rethink your service based on those needs. Do not assume that the service you have is the one that is needed. It is a service that exists because of a whole series of things came together and made it what it is today. At this point, you go back and look at what is supposed to be the things that we are actually fulfilling, and look back through the entirety of your service and see if any actions there is not about fulfilling that need. Once you have looked at your service from the lens of the user needs you have discovered, you're going to have to take a very bold step and break things. Do not be afraid of breaking things. You cannot innovate with the old. You can only innovate by bringing in a new view, a new look. What the future needs may have nothing to do with what the past has been. Once you've been bold enough to break a couple of things, once you have looked at your services from the lenses of, or through the lenses of the user needs, you need to start doing small things. So break everything into small chunks and iterate. Do things very quickly to see if you can fulfill the need. What shape will fulfill that need? Ignore the rest will follow. As you begin to establish small clusters of different ways of doing something, a new service begins to emerge. You don't need to plan it from beginning to end. Once you have looked at the needs, looked at your service through the lens of the needs, broken a couple of things, started small pockets of activity looking towards the future, not the past, and looked at your service and how that service applies to the individual, then you get to the point where you can actually understand what is the role that the individual play. Do not assume you know what your service means to your user. You could be anything to your user. For example, in a restaurant situation, you may think you're a provider of food. But to me, you might be the place I go to hide or read at my break, the quiet place to have a difficult conversation, or the place I get some food. Do not assume you know it. Find it out. And you can only find it out through identifying user needs and understanding their behavior. Once you bring that together, once you start building small clusters of innovation that look towards the future and that brings your customers as human elements in your transactional reality, then the whole thing shifts. Then you're not just selling food, you're not just doing restaurants, you are actually in the business of enabling people to be healthier, to be happier.